Well, it's 7:07 and welcome to Memorial Day edition of It's Edtechnical. I'm Nick Finelli, and tonight we are going to have a host of fun things to do. We'll start off with looking at how to match colors. So as you're looking at the slide that I'm presenting right now, it's got an animated GIF in the slideshow, but and it's got a blue background. Well, the actual animated GIF had that same light blue background, but of course my slide, I couldn't get it the exact same color. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. You can do that in slides and drawing, any type of art. It's just a web browser that allows you to do it. Then also we're going to do the old Google Sites, and some of you may have started receiving this. So any of your old Google Sites can now be turned into new Google Sites, and I'll show you the conversion tool. And then we're going to look at what's new with Microsoft EDU, and then talking about a new thing that I'm doing with schools, hopefully for the start of the 2018-19 school year, is to focus on broader with a bunch more schools and doing coaching and learning virtually with them, to offer that and I'll explain more about it, but it's just a neat way to do some things that I think are most valuable for what schools need. All right, so without further ado, let's get in there. So you're looking at the Happy Memorial Day flag there, and what I'm going to do is switch over to the next screen and show you what happens when we decide to change those things. So let's see. So I'm gonna take off my screen and go to my next one, and I'll transition back. Here we are. All right, so you see this Google slide, and I just have 2 pages here. The animated GIF is right here, and if I decide to change colors, I'm going to right click on the background and click on change background, and you can see it already has a color chosen. If I click on the down arrow, it's going to go down here under custom, so you can see it's a custom color. Otherwise, I'll just show you. I'll just do this yellow color just so you can see. That's kind of what it did look like. So I wanted to match this blue exactly, because I felt like the blue itself would go well throughout, and then it wouldn't look like it was just, you know, this animated GIF, and I couldn't stretch it so big that it would take up the whole page, because I also wanted to be able to put on some other things. So in order to do this, I grabbed an extension from the Chrome Web Store, because most of the time that's what I'm using, is the Chrome web browser. And the extension, I'm going to click on top up here, the extension is called Color Pick Eyedropper. So let me see if I can go to a new page here and go to Color Pick Eyedropper so you can see what it looks like in the Chrome Web Store. I will post it right now and put it on the comment section, so those people following along, you can grab it too if you want it. Alright, so here's the eye picker, and so what it does is just allows your mouse to move around, and when it's selected, you choose the color, and it goes into tiny little pixels, and it'll show you all sorts of ways to grab the particular colors that you're looking for. So I've added it, and it's on my extension. So now let me go back. Once it's added, you then go to the extension itself, and once it's up, you see it kind of flashed up there a little cross. So now as I'm moving, it's given the colors, and notice it's the same color throughout, but as I move, you can see the numbers changes. So even within the reds itself, it changed to show. So all I want is that color right there. So I just click and it stays and it highlights it. So now I'm going to copy it. So it's AADEE9, and then I can close out because I don't need this anymore. And now I go back to my right-clicking to do my background, and go to color and choose custom. And then when custom comes up, you just go to the very top where the number is, and it displays the code, and you just paste it, and there it is. And so now click done, and now your background looks exactly the same color as that picture that you grabbed or something else. If I wanted to do it the same color as, for instance, the logo on the right that says it's Edtechnical, just do the same thing again. Grab the eyedropper, choose your color, it'll turn into a little hatch there, and copy and paste it. There, choose background again, and custom. Highlight and add a new one, and there it is. It's the same color. And so now it's kind of nice to be able to see how you can easily change those things. Now, of course, I can't do it on the animated GIF because it's basically an image, and I'm not changing those parts unless I created the image. So that's how you do it. I'm going to undo it because I kind of like it better the other way, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. Now, let's go on to our next thing. So the next thing we're going to talk about is looking at Google Sites. So many of you got the announcement saying it's coming, and then you checked your sites and they still didn't come. Some sites it will not be able to. I'm still waiting for it to have the conversion tool for some sites that I have a little more complexity to it. So we'll see if that happens. But some of the basic ones they have in there, and some that aren't so basic. But it's interesting to see what it does. So I'm going to walk you through one of my old sites and what it shows you, and then we'll convert it and we'll see what it does in the new one. So let me switch over and let you look at that. Alright, so here's a listing of my sites. Notice this is the old sites. These aren't listed, and the one I'm going to use here is the G Suite family. I created this site a long time ago because I thought it would be a good idea for Google to go to families and think about how to connect the entire family, think about all the tools and things that we use, kind of the way schools do, but do it for a family, just because, you know, so many people have different accounts at different schools and things like that, and it would be nice to have them all sync together as a family. You could buy your own domain through Google, all those kind of things I thought would be good. So I created this and kind of pitched it, but didn't go anyplace. But and this was a while back. This is before it was even called G Suite. It was just Google Apps. So I had like a little video introduction. You can see this is just a normal Google site. I got little tools, different pages talking about things. Go to meetings. I have their safety center talking about this. Whoops, that converted directly to an old one. Huh. All right, I guess I didn't have that one directly. Let's see if this one does it too. There it is, Safety Center. I did convert it earlier. That's why you saw a little flash there. For those of you who can't see it, a flash of the new Google site that it converted to was already over there. And then I have a resources page. So it's just simple, 4 pages, no problem. So what will happen is there are 2 ways you can find out. First of all, you probably will notice at the top it'll say new, convert your site to new Google Sites. Try it now. It's in blue. You can click on that. Or you can go to the right where the gear is, click on that, and click on Manage Site. When you click on Manage Site, you will see similar thing. It'll say new on the bottom left in red, and it'll say convert to new sites. When you click on that, a new page will open and it'll say convert to the new Google Sites. And it just explains how it's easy. This tool will help you convert it. And then there's 1, 2, 3 steps. So the first step says a new draft on your site will be created in the new Google Sites. This new draft site will feature an updated look and feel, but your content will be the same. Creating a draft does not affect your original site. And then you have the option of sharing it with the same people. So, sure, go ahead. If its setting is set up so anyone with the link can view, then that is not available in the new Google Sites, you'd have to make it totally public and publish it, or have specific people. So that's the option there. And then you just click on Start. And it goes through and reads your web page and looks at what's going on with it and shows a percentage. Then it's going to create a draft. And right now we're at 43%. And we're still waiting. So we're at 75%. But it's a pretty simple tool, and now it just says draft site created, and it's at 100%, and it's asking me to continue. So I'm going to switch you back. Alright, so now I click on continue. Now we're on the third stage, which is review and publish. So your converted site is ready. Okay, and just some things in here they explain. Of course, you can review your site. If you're happy with it, you can go ahead and publish it. If you have any mapping or anything that's already done with the site, you can also can do that too. So if you click on the advanced section, that will show you also how you can disconnect it from your original site's address. Okay, so it's disconnecting will separate your original site from your converted version in new sites. The converted version can still be accessed in new sites, but will no longer be able to publish in your original site version. Okay, so you can disconnect that. But I'm going to review the draft. And so it's going to take the converted site and show me in the new Google Sites, and it's going to give me the name of the site as converted from old sites. So there's my G Suite family converted from classic sites, old, classic, different names, but you can see all the blocking is still the same. They just group those in text boxes, similar to how it's done now. If certain things can't convert, notice it says can't convert image, because actually this was using a Google Hangouts embed, so some things like that do not fall over. You also get your navigation bar. You can of course change it to your side navigation in docs, excuse me, in sites, and then I can preview what it looks like. And there's all my little tools. And so it looks very similar, but yet it still has that new feel and brings your graphics and things over. So that's what I like about it. Let me show you, once I did kind of doctor it up in the new pages. Let me go to my new sites, which would mean in my new sites I could actually go to migrated sites. So anything that I actually already migrated would be here, and that way I can see whether I want to make a copy of it or delete it. So that's kind of nice to show you what you've already done. If I want to go to my new Google Sites, of course I can go to Drive, but I can click on New Google Sites, and it's going to show me every single site that I've made. Here's the Chromebook one conversion. There's the Google G Suite family, and actually I called it Google Family before, so let me show you what that looks like, because that's the one I kind of cleaned up a little bit after it converted it, because there were some slight things that I wanted to change or rearrange, and in the new Google Sites it was easy, just dragging and dropping it rather than having to work with other formulas and things like that, or going into the HTML. I go to Pages, you can see I was able to move some things around, make the docs text go with the pictures better, whereas before when it brought it in, it brought them as separate lines, so I had to kind of move them together. And same thing with the meeting, it didn't show that embed, so what I did is just added an image and did the meet.google website, meet.google.com, so that way it's there. And so if I'm ready to publish, of course, I can click on publish. If I click on the down arrow, I can view the published sites and look at my published settings. Basically the same thing there. All right. So, pretty cool stuff right there with Google Sites. Hopefully your more complex ones will be coming soon. It's been about 7 days. I guess Tuesday will be about 7 days. So hopefully you'll have a nice surprise tomorrow if you haven't already. If you're on the early adoption or early adopters, or or somebody who's on the fast track as far as getting new Google apps and things like that, then you should be able to see those things in there. There's also a tool inside the admin control panel that'll allow you to convert some for people. So we can look at that next time later this week and show you any admins out there how to do that, because you may have a whole school of sites, no pun intended there, so that you can convert all of them and don't have to have somebody else doing it for you. All right. Next thing up, we're going to go to Microsoft's blog. So I'm going to put that in there. And thanks, Reginald. It is a pretty cool tool. I hope it gets more advanced in its delivery. The part here is the education blog for Microsoft. So what they have is kind of a broader approach, and they do a kind of a webinar type thing where they introduce different things that are coming out throughout the year, and so they just list them on their blog, similar to how Google does when they make an announcement, but they kind of seem to lump a lot together. And so what's good is you can watch and get to know a bunch of new things, and then see some of the other things that you may know about but want to learn more. But it's really just a video, and it walks you through and talks about some of the neat stuff. So what you can do is you can subscribe to this page if you want to. You can also just make sure you bookmark it if you want to, the educationblog.microsoft.com. And there's different categories. So if you'd rather just look at the general blog itself, you can go to all. If you're a school principal or something like that, choose for leaders. If you're a teacher, just click on that. If you want to know kind of what's going on with their digital education innovation, they have all different topics, of course, and different things coming out. So just by choosing those, it's going to give you the best one there, so you can see what's going on in Office 365, any new stuff happening. And I know I mentioned this about a month ago, but their Azure and the way that the new Microsoft 10 can manage different devices, similar to how Google's can in the Google Admin Control Center. I would definitely look at these, because there's a bunch of new devices here for 189, so you might want to consider those. And I know some I know Microsoft is very eager to get these into schools, so they may be willing to give you a couple of them to test it out. So definitely contact your Microsoft rep if you have one. If you don't, contact me and I'll be able to get to who you need to. So that's all I wanted to show you with this, is just the similar place. They also have a similar part where if you need to see what's broken down, what things are not working, kind of like Google does. It's rare that any of these things are shut down, but they still keep a running track of any interruptions or anything like that. So I'll post that in the comments after the show. I just have to find where it is again. I don't have it bookmarked myself. Okay, the next part is some cool stuff that I decided to do. So I wrote a blog post last week, and I put it on my LinkedIn. Didn't post anywhere else, just sending it out there to directly to some school principals, get some ideas and get their thoughts, because I've been thinking about this for a while. So as I go through and help different schools, there's a lot of travel involved, and then there's also just the idea that some schools can only support 1 or 2 days, and it might be at the beginning of the year, or it might be once at the beginning and then in the middle of the year. And so you don't really have that sustained professional learning that you really need to be ultimately successful and grow the entire school, and not just those couple of teachers at that moment. I started thinking about classroom teachers, and they go through the training and they love it and they're excited, and they get to try something new in their classroom after a training, or even if they went to a conference or a summit or some sort of thing that they learned, and they try it in their classroom, but then there's nobody there to support them. A lot of schools don't have a full-time person inside their classrooms or just in the school itself that kind of helps with digital learning and integration. And some schools do, and they still can't be at every place, and those people still need time to learn and grow too. So what I decided to do was focus more on having a less amount of schools and really focus on being like an entire year model and mentor and coach them. And so let me explain to you how that works. So I call it coaching and mentoring. And so it's for the entire school, and it's on a subscription basis. So you can buy it monthly or you can buy it by the year. And so what happens is, this is just some explanation about how I came up with this and the idea. But really, when you get down to it, the goal is to grow everybody. And you may not need someone to always teach you full day lessons and trying to get subs and things like that. So having someone be a guide for you, a facilitator, and someone who knows what you're doing. So that's how it started. And then I thought about, well, you don't want to do the entire school, because then you're still trying to find time, and you'd want to dedicate at a school a certain amount of people to do this. So I decided to do a cohort of 5 educators at a school, and I would work with the school to decide who was the best, because sometimes it's not the techie people that you want to be your cohort. You want those teachers that are going to influence the other teachers. And so I have several tools that we can use to find that out, so if you want to do that. But after the 5 educators are chosen, then we have like an initial meeting, talk about what it is, and then what they get is, if they decide to just do monthly because they want to try it out, but they're not ready to commit for the entire year, which if you think about it, the entire year is about the same cost of having someone come for a whole day, probably even less. And so what you get is, you get a dedicated email, so you get your own email address directly to me, so I know it's coming from that school for those 5 people. And then you also get newsletters, so specific newsletters with video tutorials and resources about what you're doing and what's going on in education, and how things can help you. And depending on kind of your long-term goals, we'll gear them towards those. And then each month you also, the cohort, or it could be one-on-one, it just depends on how you as a school decide, is you get 3 30-minute video conferences. So those will be full mentoring type missions. I could explain things, I could share stuff, you could share things that are happening in your classroom, get ideas, but that's also what the email is for too. So the video conference is more about being able to show and share and kind of get to know each other throughout and help each other. So that's on the monthly basis. If you get the year subscription, which means ahead of time you've decided that you want to do this, you get the same things you get on a monthly basis, plus you get some custom videos or lesson templates. So exactly like, let's say a teacher needs something specifically, or maybe they're doing something, the school is deciding to do something for the entire year, and they want certain kind of lessons taught the same way, and they don't have somebody that can take the time to do that. So I would do that for you. And then you get to choose 5 1-hour learn shops. So I have a number of those, about 20 of the 1-hour learn shops, and I'll continue to add them over the year, but you can pick 5, and those 5 teachers can take that class, those 5 classes, and then you get a subscription to the podcast, and you also get early access and discounts to any new courses. So that's what it's about. I thought some schools might be interested, especially those who don't have the support or really want to take their teachers to the next level, because that's what it's about. It's about growing the whole school. And so hopefully these 5 will then also have a sharing time with the entire faculty, so that way they all grow together and use them almost as like a beta group, and then the next year maybe another 5 go through, and then after that you have 10 teachers, and depending on your population, if you have up to 30% of your teachers have already gone through and doing this, then you're going to grow, especially in your use of technology and how you're using it, and you're just going to get better at this. So that's what that's for. So I kind of like it. I guess I'm partial, but I just thought it just makes sense. So all right, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of a fun site for the day, because I really like this show. This is a show that comes, it's in the UK, and it's called Countdown. So if anybody's ever heard of Countdown, they have their website that's based on the stuff. And I don't know if you've ever heard Countdown, but it kind of goes like, the sound goes like this. So what it does, let me just go to the site. So the game itself is based on the game Countdown itself. So what Countdown has is two ways to do things. One is with numbers and one is with letters. And so with the numbers one, and this is just the website that kind of mocks it. So you have 30 seconds to solve. And so what they do is a number is picked at random, and then once that number is picked, you get to choose whether you want 4 large numbers, so like 100 would be considered a large number, or smaller numbers, which would be just digits. And so then those numbers, you try to, within 30 seconds, try to make them equal that total and try to use as many as you can. Of course, getting the total is number 1. So if you can do it in 2, that's great, but if somebody can do it in all 6 of them, then that's even better. But to me, that's just good to help you keep your math mind sharp. It's a fun thing for adults and teachers to do. It kind of reminds me of a lot of things we do when, especially in the middle years, upper elementary and middle school, where you're doing order for operations. But these can be used in any way. If you want to use them with powers, if you want to use them, exponents, if you want to multiply, add, subtract, however you want to try to get that number. Now, it might not always work, so it's just at random. So this is what I came up with, so you can see the solution of how you did it, or how one could do it. You don't have to have the same solution. But I did get 985, and so that's one way. And then if you just click on Show Answer, they show it a different way. Okay, very similar. They don't even include the 1. But I put that in there. And so the other one is with letters. And so I like this one with letters because you can choose vowels, consonants. You actually choose every time whether you want it to be a vowel or a consonant. So as the letters are coming out, you'll see them. And then you try to unscramble the words and make it a word using all of the letters. And so if you can't, make a word smaller. So if you couldn't get Polonium, you could get pole. That would work. There is a countdown solver if you want to kind of cheat. I wouldn't say it's cheating, but if you want to find out like if there's no way you could get it. But usually if you just hit Show Answers, it's going to show you different words. And so I'm going to reset this one and show you how this works. So I'm going to do consonant, vowel, 3 vowels, and the rest consonants. Alright, so then as soon as you finish your part, you start. And so then you can work on the space. And when you think you used all of them, or you think you've used enough, then you just go ahead and type it in, and you can kind of check yourself. So it's not a fully automated thing where you're checking your own answers, but I just thought about this would be cool with students having them kind of have to get a solution in a certain amount of time. It could be different solutions. And let's see the answers that they show. So I don't know if anybody was doing this, but you could have gotten these answers. Clavier, and fancier was about the best you could get. They couldn't use all the letters. So anyway, it's countdown practice, and so I'll put that in there, and there we go. All right, so now going back to our last part of our Memorial Day, just to remind you to go to blendedtechlearning.com and join up on Facebook at Blend Tech Learn. Go to my Twitter account at Nick Finelli, NICFINELLI, or go to our YouTube channel at Blended Tech Learning. Have a great rest of your Memorial Day, and I will see you on Thursday.